Don't go out there. But if you do, we hope that you listen to us when you do it. And Nico, you got an idea? Maybe some fresh content. If we could throw some new episodes out there, what are we doing tonight?
All right, guys, this is a little different game. This is more of a ranking, but I'm excited for this. We're going to do our top 5 directors that we most want to interview on our podcast. You know, we've done a lot of interviews, directors, writers, all that good stuff, actors, actresses. We're going to do directors tonight. Coming in at number 5 for me is he's got a movie coming out in the next couple of weeks. M. Night Shyamalan. He's got such a unique category. He's a unique filmmaker. He's very divisive, I guess you could say. I think he's interesting. I think he's brilliant. He's got way more hits than misses to me. I can't really think of a miss. Haven't seen The Happening or Lady in the Water, so I might have missed the misses so far. But all the movies I've seen, I've either, thought were, good to great. So number 5 for me is M. Night Shyamalan. Brian, you go next. We'll just go in podcast order.
Number 5 for me is Kevin Williamson. I would like to speak to him about not just his directing, which he hasn't done a whole lot of, but he will qualify on this list, but mostly his writing.
I have a question. If we interviewed him, are you going to talk about his big swinging dick like you have multiple times on the show?
His script writing dick. I didn't say it was swinging. It was script writing dick. That's all.
He misheard. He misheard. Misheard that.
That's on me.
I thought we should check the records on the swinging comment. I think it's in there somewhere.
I think it is.
Pretty sure. All right, so my number 5, I don't know if it's going to surprise you guys, but it's because I have a couple questions. And I think me and Nico and maybe everybody on this show would be asking the same questions. My number 5 would be David Gordon Green. I just want to ask a couple things.
I just want to talk.
David, if you're listening, buddy, love Halloween. Love Halloween Kills. I just have a couple questions. That's all.
Okay. My number 5, this might be cheating, but he directed a movie called Maximum Overdrive. Stephen King. Stephen King. He directed that movie. So I have questions about that movie. Like, how good was the shit? Like, was this straight from Columbia? Because you were zooted, my man. But also, like, he's a legend. He's an icon. Stephen King.
Absolutely. Number 4 for me, he directed a movie that we're going to be reviewing in Mike's month. I've seen 4 of his movies. I think they're all 9 or higher. Darren Aronofsky. I mean, you got Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, The Whale, Mother. I think the man is fantastic. I would love to talk to Darren Aronofsky.
Pi, A24.
I've never seen
Not
Pi.
originally, but it is now. I love Pi. Different kinds of it.
Sorry, I fell asleep talking about his movies. So my next one is actually Andy Muschietti. I loved it. I would like to talk to him about it. But don't think I'm not going to throw in a few questions about having Michael Keaton back in The Flash that he directed. So we're going to have some comic book questions I've got for him.
Flash?
I like that.
Hey, his movie Mama from 2013 is good too. I like that movie.
Okay.
All right. So, Brian, I hate to do this to you, buddy, but I'm officially being done sitting on the fence, and I'm joining our brothers on Team A24. I am all the way
I'm shocked.
On the other side. So my number 4, Mr. Ari Aster, buddy. I want to pick this man's brain. At least give me 15 minutes to just I want to know this man's thoughts inside and out. There's another one on this list too that I need to hear him defend some of the decisions being made, and I don't mean that in a negative way, by the way.
I actually, it would kind of honestly scare me to hear what he has to say. Him and Stephen King, having them on, I would be like, you guys,
that'd
all
be
right?
great.
You guys okay?
You okay? Yeah. My number 4, I went with another legend, John Carpenter. I mean, he's made some really good movies, but then we just reviewed Ghost of Mars recently. Like, I have questions.
All right, my top 3 is really, really close. Number 3 for me, Ty West. I love his trilogy, X, Pearl, Maxine. I think he did a great job. I mean, it's really hard to fathom doing 3 movies like that within 2 years. But you got like House of the Devil, Cabin Fever 2. There's a lot of meat on the bone to talk about, like horror wise, and like I would love to just sit down and chat with him.
So I
sure.
actually had John Carpenter right here, but I was really on the fence between him and Sam Raimi, and I'm gonna put Sam Raimi in there now, since you used John Carpenter. And yeah, I'm not in a huge, not in love with a lot of the horror stuff that Sam Raimi's done. Obviously, I do love his superhero work that he's done too. So, which is kind of
Mhm.
interesting now how much crossover there is with superhero movies and horror directors. But Sam Raimi is a fucking legend that I would just love to pick his brain.
Brian, to piggyback off that real quick, don't think that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, don't think that's not on my list of movies to pick. That is horror. Don't care what you say.
Ugh.
I mean, I'm down, but
Dude, you're like hitting me like how Peter Griffin scrapes his knee. By the way, I guess I guess I just completely misread the game because once you said they had to be alive, I'm like, well, I need working current directors, no people that aren't really working anymore. So okay, that's my mistake. So all these are going to be pretty modern. I'm going to go with Robert Eggers for the same reason as Ari Aster. Where like, I want to. What's going on with the lighthouse, man? What the fuck is going on here, man?
thank
I gotta
you.
I gotta know, man. Did he?
What made
know,
you choose the Jesus
yeah,
swimming down? Like what was going
yeah,
through your mind?
mermaids and almost a kissing or a fucking scene. Just. I have some questions. Is all. That's all.
So, my number 3, I think, is nothing short of a modern legend, Jordan Peele. I mean,
Yeah.
from Get Out to Us to Nope. I mean, his movies are so complex and so fascinating. I would love to have Jordan Peele on the show.
Yeah, Pete would be in my top 10, but he's not in my top 5. Number 2 is Mike's number 3, Robert Eggers. I said in The Lighthouse, he's one of my most favorite directors to listen to just talk about filmmaking. Like Dustin, he mentioned it in our Maxine reaction. He, to me, is the best at capturing the era that he's
Yeah,
setting
you're
his
right.
movies in. Like, he is just a phenomenal filmmaker. I love Robert Eggers' movies, the 2 I've seen. So, yeah, he's my number 2.
He's
Almost
so
number 1.
good. He's so good at capturing the era, like all the way down to the aspect ratio. Go ahead, Brian.
This fucking guy. All right, number 2 for me is goddamn. It's another superhero director that
Oh.
happens to do a few horror movies. James Wan, the great director of Aquaman. Like, yeah, he's done a few
Great director of
Conjuring, done a few
Aquaman.
other
Go
ones,
fuck
but man,
yourself.
great director of Aquaman,
fuck
man. James
Yeah.
Wan's my number 2.
Fair, valid.
So my number 2 is the same as Dustin's number 3, and that's Jordan Peele. But for different reasons. Yeah, the horror stuff would be good, but god damn, that'd be a funny fucking conversation. Because yeah, we can ask him about horror, but I really want to ask him about fucking Key and Peele skits, man. That's what I want to
Yeah.
know.
That's fair. My number 2 is Ari Aster. I mean, Mike, you mentioned it. Like, are you okay? I said
Yeah,
it. So
I want to know. Yeah, all right, man.
I recently finished my TikTok series of ranking the A24 horror movies, and at number 1 I had Midsommar, and I said his brain needs to be studied. Like when I think I may have said that when I was talking about Beau's Afraid. Either one, when he passes, his brain needs to be studied. What's really going on up there? I would love to chat with him. So bizarre, so unique. Hell yeah, sign me up for an Ari Aster interview.
My number 1 is my favorite, James Wan, of course. I got to admit, he had some pressure just because I feel like he hasn't put out a banger in a while. But I got to give him the, just as the body of work. I mean, you got Saw, The Conjuring,
Aquaman 2 is pretty
Insidious.
good, man. Aquaman 2 is underrated.
I haven't seen these Aquaman movies, brother, or the Fast and Furious movie he's done. But Insidious, The Conjuring, Saw, I mean, Malignant, man's producer of every Blumhouse movie. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, you can determine that. I think he's I think he's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, my number 1 is Nico's mentioned him, M. Night Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan. He's somebody that I would like. I've loved him ever since the first one Signs. We've talked about it. You mentioned you haven't seen The Happening. I'm one of the very few people that do like it. I've not seen Lady in the Water, but like you and almost to a T, I've liked everything that he's put out that I've watched.
Yeah, I want to give 2 fast honorable mentions because Because these are off the top of my head.
Too
'cause I went
Fast,
more
Too
of them.
Furious.
Yeah, sure. M. Night Shyamalan, which you've already mentioned, and hope I'm not stealing anyone's number one thunder here, but I would also love to interview Rob fucking Zombie because it'd be a badass, cool interview. I would love to. Man, are you kidding? If he would answer open and honestly candid questions about the Halloween movies that he did, I think it'd be really good shit, man. Really
No,
good
it'd be
shit.
a cool interview.
Yeah. My number one is Mike fucking Flanagan, though. I just about love everything that Flanny does. Hush is one of my sleeper movies of all time for me personally, as far as horror goes. Love Hill House. I love Midnight Mass. And so I love so much of the stuff he does. I'd love to sit down and pick his brain about choices he made in writing and directing. I think it'd be a great interview.
I
Big
think it'd be
Oculus
great
guy,
if you
too.
interview him. Yeah, big Oculus guy. I think it'd be great if
Yeah,
Mike,
I'll
you
pretend to
interview
like
him.
it so he doesn't.
You interview him, and I'll interview his wife. It's a win-win.
That's
My number one.
I'm happily married. That's fine.
I did not have M. Night on my list because I couldn't, with a straight face, tell him I liked the movie Old.
we don't
But
have
I
to tell
will.
him that.
I like the old.
I like
I
I
was
like
kidding.
old enough.
The sound was so off. It sounded like they were in a tin can. Go back and watch it. Anyway, my number
I'll watch
one
it
is
on a
it should
plane.
be no surprise. I mean, I've been consistent from day one of me joining this podcast. I have 2 bucket list interviews that exist, and one of them is David Arquette, and the other is Rob Zombie. I would love to have
Attaboy.
Rob Zombie on the show to talk about his movies, to talk about his music, to talk about his love and appreciation for horror. I really enjoy everything most everything he's done. 31 sucked, but the rest of his movies I enjoy at least a little bit, even down to The Monsters. I thought The Monsters was a fun ass movie that I'm looking forward to picking one day. So yeah, Rob Zombie for sure.
Nico, you're gonna be so mad watching the Monsters, dude. You're not gonna like it, man.
You know,
He
to
likes
be
Hocus
honest,
Pocus. It's a kid. It's like a kids movie. I liked it. It's fun.
There's no nostalgia though. Anyway,
to be honest, like I would be, especially Rob Zombie, but there were about 4 or 5 on here that I would literally be so overwhelmed to try to really interview. Like I would not
Yeah.
know what to say. I think I would be scared. Rob Zombie would cuss me out. Like I would, or Stephen King would just flip his shit. Like I don't know. Like I would be very, very scared and overwhelmed and nervous
Like
to
just-
interview some of these guys.
No, fuck it. We get one of those guys on and they cuss us out. We put it out and they look like the assholes, not us. So
That's good.
That's how I would be with Robert Eggers. Just because he's so smart, I feel like my questions I would ask would like just come across as dumb. Like I feel like you know, like when you're talking to somebody way smarter than you, like you just don't want to talk.
Yeah.
That's how I would feel personally with him.
hey, buddy, that's me in my house every day.
You know, that's kind of like, I mean, we've interviewed a few people that have made me feel like this guy's really fucking smart. Vincent DeSanti was one of them. Stephen Cognetti, too, was like that. I was just like, man, this guy is very intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
all right, this is a good one, Nico. We can do more of these lists in the future for sure. So tune in.